Ever since Donald Trump was sworn into office, the First Lady seems to have maintained a frown just as fierce as her fashion. From dodging her husband's hand to sequestering herself in her gold-encrusted New York City penthouse long after he moved to Washington, it's unclear if this first couple actually like each other at all. While she's private, dignified, and reserved, he's the kind of guy that boasts about groping women and antagonizes foreign dictators on social media. Sure, opposites attract, especially with millions of dollars on the line, but is that enough? These are Donald and Melania Trump's most cringeworthy moments. Over It, Inaugural Edition. Melania's support of her husband's new career path has been subject to tons of speculation.
Were you involved in the decision of your husband to become president?
We discuss a lot, yes, and I encourage him.
In the scathing White House tell-all, Fire and Fury, author Michael Wolff wrote that when Melania found out her husband won the presidency, she cried. Tears, and not of joy. But Stephanie Grisham, the First Lady's communications director, denied this account. She swore Melania encouraged Trump to run in the first place and says the First Lady was, quote, very happy with the election's outcome. But during the actual inauguration, Mrs. Trump looked anything but. Melania's morose expression was so obvious that the internet rushed to her aid with the hashtag #FreeMelania. The miserable day was later capped off with the world's most awkward dance. Stop Touching Me, Israel Edition. Things didn't get less awkward when the first couple jetted to Israel to meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as one of many stops on their first overseas trip. The incident went down as Netanyahu and his wife escorted the Trumps across the red carpet. Trump reached for Melania's hand and was denied. After the snub, Melania went to Saudi Arabia to give a misguided speech about work-life balance to Saudi women who, as a whole, weren't even legally allowed to drive at the time. Stop Touching Me, Rome Edition. The First Lady snubbed Trump again when they landed in Rome. This time she brushed her hair out of her face in lieu of presidential PDA. But a member of the president's inner circle told Vanity Fair her perceived coldness isn't a diss. Melania reportedly prefers to step back and let her husband have the spotlight. But tell that to the Save Melania hashtag. Keep It Professional, Maryland Edition. By the time the POTUS arrived with his wife at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, Melania had already made it pretty clear that she's not into PDA. But it seemed the president finally got the memo because he greeted the First Lady with a handshake and then awkwardly nudged her off stage. Twitter lit up, with one user claiming this incident was by far the most awkward husband-wife encounter they'd ever witnessed. Another says, "Nothing says I love you, my wife, like a firm handshake and false pleasantries." And others questioned if Donald and Melania actually know each other at all. Full-on PDA, White House Edition. While we're certainly not behind the closed doors of Trump and Melania's alleged separate bedrooms, it appeared that the FLOTUS finally gave in to her husband's hand-holding advances during the state arrival ceremony in April 2018, at least for a minute. The first couple posed with French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte. And when Trump reached for Melania's hand, she actually took it, before quickly wriggling out of it and hanging back from the pack. Ice Queen, West Wing Edition. Some say Melania is in a cold, loveless marriage, but what if that's just her personal aesthetic? If you're going by her Christmas decorations, which Vox described as a nightmare pulled straight out of a horror movie, that might be the case. Melania's take on Christmas in the White House is a far cry from the Obamas' cozy, classic holiday vibe. The final results garnered her comparisons to Narnia's White Witch and also the demon from Stranger Things. Others compared the FLOTUS dispassionately watching the Nutcracker-inspired ballerinas to Black Swan and, of course, The Ring. But hey, those decorations weren't tacky. Trouble in Paradise, Porn Star Edition. After more than a decade of marriage, the Trumps' 13th wedding anniversary came and went with little fanfare. But was it because there was a stormy brewing? The Trumps reportedly intended to spend their anniversary weekend at a posh resort in the Swiss Alps that was hosting the World Economic Forum, at which the president was scheduled to speak. But those plans were made before the Wall Street Journal dropped a bombshell news report claiming Donald paid porn star Stormy Daniels $130,000 to remain quiet about an affair. They allegedly had a sexual encounter in July 2006, shortly after Melania gave birth to Barron Trump. Just 11 days after the story broke, CNN confirmed that Melania had canceled her trip to Sweden due to scheduling and logistical issues, and the president attended the event alone. But 2 days prior to their anniversary, Melania did take the opportunity to reflect on her time as First Lady. And you'd never know her husband had anything to do with it. She tweeted a photo of herself with her hunky military escort on Inauguration Day, writing, This has been a year filled with many wonderful moments. I've enjoyed the people I've been lucky enough to meet throughout our great country and the world. Me Time, State of the Union Edition. Amidst the Stormy Daniels drama, Melania didn't limit her reported shade-throwing to Twitter posts and canceled anniversary plans. The First Lady also opted to travel solo to her husband's State of the Union address on January 30th, 2018. In fact, the couple had not been publicly seen together since New Year's Eve. Though the State of the Union address is given just a few minutes away from the White House, the first couple reportedly took separate cars. According to CNN, Melania rode with some guests she invited who joined her in a special box and arrived just 1 minute before the president's speech was due to begin. Even more curious, Melania opted to wear a white pantsuit to the event. The year prior, Democratic congressional members donned white in protest of Trump's policies. Maybe the First Lady has joined the resistance, but more likely, cream is just one of her wardrobe staples. According to Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, there was nothing shady about Melania's separate ride. She reportedly took her own car out of convenience. Plus, she wanted to greet guests, and the president needed to go straight inside. Trouble in Paradise, Birthday Edition. Donald Trump has made a name for himself by supposedly telling it like it is, and this produced a rather cringe-worthy interview when he took his executive time to call into Fox & Friends in late April 2018. The interview was shocking for a few reasons: the terrified looks from the anchors as they nervously tried to push him off air, how he may have actually incriminated himself in legal matters regarding the Russia investigation, and the way he totally admitted that he forgot to get Melania a birthday present, saying,
"Well, I better not get into that because I may get in trouble. Maybe I didn't get her so much. I'll tell you what, she has done. I got her a beautiful card."
So, what's worse? The wrath of a wife whose birthday you forgot, or implicating yourself in an ongoing criminal investigation? Only one of those things can be lawyered around. Trouble in Paradise, Staff Edition. Donald Trump clung to his reality TV catchphrase long after The Apprentice was canceled.
"You're fired. You're fired. You're fired."
And Trump's presidency has become notorious for its high turnover rate. As of May 2018, more than 30 staff members have reportedly been fired, forced out, quit, or retired. And it seems like critics are always speculating about who's next. But could it be Melania? According to W Magazine, the president riffed on the fact that Melania looks miserable in an overwhelming amount of public appearances, saying, "I like turnover. I like chaos. It really is good." Now the question everyone keeps asking is, who is going to be the next to leave? Steve Miller or Melania? Joking about how the general public thinks your wife hates you was as awkward as expected, especially considering the notoriously private FLOTUS was apparently offended. Cracking a Smile, Funeral Edition. Melania may be serious and reserved by nature, but that doesn't mean she never lets loose. Momentarily free of the president, the First Lady cracked a rare smile at Barbara Bush's funeral in April 2018. And the irony wasn't lost on the internet. President Trump didn't attend the service, but Melania was there to pay her respects, sitting next to Barack and Michelle Obama. And funeral etiquette aside, Melania looked happier and more relaxed than she had in months, to the delight of the entire internet. One Twitter user quipped, "Melania looks happier at a funeral than she has in ages." Even Hillary Clinton advisor Philippe Reines tweeted that the First Lady allegedly always used to smile in photos, yet this was the first smile on her in years. He added, "That's a woman craving distance from a monster being reminded what dignity looks like." Thanks for watching. Click the Nicki Swift icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this other cool stuff we know you'll love too.